All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about the molecules that are, and I mean this literally, the engines of life. They build our bodies, they run our cells, and they even defend us from invaders. Yep, we're talking about proteins, the absolute workhorses of the entire biological world.
So to start, let's just look at the name itself, because with proteins, the name tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how important they really are.
Okay, I've got a question for you. What do your hair, the lunch you just ate, and your immune system all have in common? I know, they sound totally unrelated, don't they? But believe it or not, there's one thing that connects every single one of them.
You guessed it, the answer is protein. It's the essential stuff that links all those things together. It builds our physical structures, it powers all the chemistry going on inside of us, and it just keeps our bodies running. It's way more than just something in our diet. It's woven into almost every single process that keeps you and me alive.
And, scientists figured this out a long time ago. The word protein actually comes from the Greek word proteos, which literally means holding first place. How cool is that? Even way back then, they knew they'd stumbled onto something absolutely fundamental.
So, if proteins are in first place, what in the world are they made of? Well, it all boils down to a pretty simple idea, an analogy I like to use. Just think of beads on a string. Okay, so each one of those little beads is a molecule called an amino acid. And get this, there are only about 20 different types of these that naturally show up in proteins. Just 20! But here's the mind-blowing part. By stringing together just those 20 little blocks in different orders and different lengths, nature can build a practically infinite variety of proteins. It's incredible.
Let's zoom in on one of these amino acid beads for a second. They all have the same basic backbone, a central carbon atom, an amino group, a carboxyl group. But the real magic, that's in what's called the R group, or the side chain. This is the part that's different for every single one of the 20 amino acids, and it gives each one its own unique personality. Its own size, its shape, its charge. It's what makes them special.
So how do you connect these beads to make the string? Well, they link up using this really strong connection called a peptide bond. One amino acid hooks onto the next, and when they do, a little water molecule pops out. This happens over and over and over again, creating a long, tough chain that we call a polypeptide. And there you have it. That's our string of beads.
But this is where things get really cool. See, a straight chain of amino acids, it can't really do anything. The real secret to a protein is its shape. Its function is all about its shape. So it's not just a string of beads. It's about the crazy, complex sculpture that string folds itself into.
This whole folding process is so important and honestly so complex that we actually break it down into 4 different levels: primary, secondary, tertiary, and then sometimes a quaternary structure.
First up, you've got the primary structure. This is super simple. It's just the sequence, the specific order of the amino acids in the chain. A great way to think about it is like spelling a word. If you change just one letter, you can completely change the word's meaning, right? It's the exact same idea for a protein's primary structure.
Okay, next we have the secondary level. This is where that straight chain starts to form little local shapes. The 2 most common ones you'll see are a coil that looks kind of like a spring, that's called an alpha helix, and a folded, accordion-like shape called a beta-pleated sheet. These little structures are held in place by pretty weak hydrogen bonds, and it's what gives the chain its first little bit of 3D flair. Then things get even more complex with the tertiary structure. This is the big one. It's where the entire polypeptide chain, with all its little helices and sheets, folds up into one big, complex, final 3-dimensional shape. And what holds this incredible sculpture together? It's all the interactions between those unique R groups we mentioned earlier. This is the shape that lets the protein actually do its job.
And for some proteins, there's even one more step, the quaternary structure. This is when you have multiple polypeptide chains, each already folded into its own 3D shape, that all come together to form one giant protein machine. A classic example is hemoglobin. That's the protein in your blood that carries oxygen. It's not just one chain, it's actually 4 separate protein subunits all working together as one team.
So you can really see the whole journey now, can't you? We go from a simple, straight line of amino acids all the way to a complex 3D machine that's perfectly built to do a very specific job. Each level of folding just builds on the one before it until you get this final, precise shape. And that shape is absolutely critical for what the protein does.
Which leads us perfectly into our next point. We've seen how proteins get their unique shapes, so now let's talk about why that shape is everything. I mean it, the shape literally defines the job that protein is going to do.
And a fantastic way to see this is by comparing two big categories of proteins. On one hand, you have fibrous proteins. These guys are long, they're stringy, almost like ropes. They're built for strength and structure. Think of keratin, the stuff your hair and nails are made of. Then, on the other hand, you have globular proteins. These are all coiled up into compact, sort of ball-like shapes. These are the real action heroes inside our cells. The enzymes, the transporters, all the doers.
And the number of different jobs they do is, well, it's just staggering. Proteins are the scaffolding, like the collagen that keeps your skin firm. They're transport trucks, like hemoglobin carrying oxygen around. They're the catalysts, the enzymes, that make all the chemical reactions in your body happen at lightning speed. They're the soldiers of your immune system, the immunoglobulins, and they're the messengers, like insulin, that keep your whole metabolism in check. They do it all.
So yeah, it's pretty clear, right? From building things to making things happen, from communication to defense, proteins are really the master molecules of our bodies. Let's wrap this up with a couple of final thoughts.
So here's a final question for you. Proteins are obviously essential for just about everything. So you'd think our bodies would keep a big emergency supply of them stashed away somewhere, right? So where is it? Where does your body store protein?
And the answer might surprise you. It doesn't. There is no storage depot for protein. Unlike fats or carbohydrates, your body has no way to just put protein on a shelf for later. The proteins in your body are all busy doing something. They're your muscles, your enzymes, your cell parts. They're constantly being used, broken down, and then rebuilt. And that's why it's so important to get a steady supply of them in your diet. And that leaves us with one last kind of deep thought. Out of a practically infinite number of ways a protein chain could fold, somehow it finds the one perfect, intricate shape it needs to do its job. So what does this incredible microscopic precision really tell us about the machinery of life itself? I mean, the elegance and complexity there is just astounding. That's something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me.